My name is Heather. I'm a 24-year-old office worker. I'm currently waiting for my date with Tim, who I've been seeing for 3 months. Truth be told, it's my first time dating a man. I was raised in a rural area where farmland stretches as far as the eye can see. There are so few people there, I used to wonder if there might be more raccoons than humans. When I moved to the city, the number of buildings and people took my breath away. I grew up in a rather strict household, or rather, due to my dad's policy, I was forced to focus primarily on my studies. But about 6 months ago, I had a big fallout with my dad. I insisted that I'm an adult and I should be allowed to make my own choices. He wouldn't back down, saying that if I wouldn't listen, I should leave. So, I stormed out, finally gaining my independence. A friend of mine took me to a mixer, and that's where I met Tim.
Heather, have you been waiting long?
Nope, I just got here. Tim is attentive and kind. Despite being busy, he always finds time for our weekly dates. And then,
could you turn around for a second?
Tim casually pulled a necklace out of his pocket and put it on me.
I don't know if you'll like it, but...
It's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was thrilled with the necklace Tim gave me as we said our goodbyes. I loved him for thinking of me, even on non-special days. My parents never allowed me to wear a necklace. They didn't even give me birthday presents. As I happily admired the necklace he had given me, a colleague of mine said, "But you know, it's probably from a dollar store." The following day, a junior colleague told me.
Huh?
She said to my surprise, "I don't know what kind of guy he is, but he must think you're easy to please. Heather, if I were you, I'd be mad. Like, don't try to get away with a dollar store item." I was taken aback. I don't know, I didn't notice it was from the dollar store, but regardless of the price, I was happy because it was the thought that counts. "Well, if you're okay with it, then it's fine," she shrugged.
Let's break up.
I was suddenly dumped by Tim on a phone call we've had in a while. I started to notice something was off with him, who used to be so kind about 2 weeks ago. We used to call almost every day and go on dates on the weekends, but the calls and dates dwindled and he became less responsive to my messages. I didn't understand why, so I tried to reach out to him multiple times over the past few days. When Tim finally answered, he had turned cold, almost like a different person. Break up? Why? Did I do something to upset you, Tim?
No, not really.
Then why? I wanted to know the reason, but all Tim did was let out a big sigh.
Ugh, such a hassle.
Huh?
What I'm saying is, let's break up.
All of a sudden? Why? I was flustered, my voice choked with tears, but it seemed like Tim didn't like that.
Poor people always cry easily, don't they?
What? The phone call with Tim abruptly ended, and despite my numerous attempts to reach him, he never answered. Being dumped without understanding the reason, I was really down and I couldn't eat for a while. "Heather, try to cheer up. You haven't eaten anything, right? You're losing weight." My junior was worried about me and took good care of me, but I was still sad. Fast forward 3 years. One day off, I was with my junior, enjoying burgers at the park when a couple walked by. "We're going on a night cruise for dinner."
Oh, this is the popular premium one. Awesome. I can't wait.
I recognized the voice, and when I looked up, there I saw Tim, wearing a glossy suit and a flashy woman wearing a short jacket, a miniskirt, and high heels. I was surprised by the unexpected reunion, but Tim not only didn't notice me, he snorted dismissively at me and my junior.
Ew, that's lame. Fast food at the park totally screams poverty.
Ha ha ha, if you say something like that, she might cry. We have to watch over her with warm eyes, as this is probably her best. The woman, who appeared to be Tim's girlfriend, not only did not reprimand him, but also joined in laughing at us. Tim!
Whoa, you... Heather, right?
3 years later, the chance encounter was as bad as the day we broke up.
Haha, I'm shocked. I knew you were poor, but you're still scraping the bottom. You're really lame. Breaking up was the right call.
Tim, who was momentarily startled, looked at me, my junior, and the burgers we were eating and sneered. "Wait, Tim, you used to date someone like this? I can't believe it. Were you blind?" The woman entwined her arm with Tim's and waved her hand with their flashy nail art as if to fan herself.
I thought she was the modest type when we first met at a party. She seemed like a food connoisseur, which made me think she might be rich, but she was happy with a dollar store necklace. What a poor girl. It was such a turnoff. And now she's eating a burger at a park. Totally bottom class. Tim kept sneering and saying horrible things. His attitude and impression had greatly changed from when we were dating, and I was a bit confused. In place of me, my junior raised her voice. "Hey, how could you be so rude? Apologize right now." You're annoying. Birds of a feather flock together. People like you always have a big mouth.
I totally get it. They bark back right away, but in the end, they're just like a barking dog with no bite, right? They continued to look down on us and laugh with a superior attitude. Hey, enough is enough. Heather is... Let's just ignore them. But Heather... My junior seemed still upset, but I saw people around us whispering and looking bothered, so I calmed my junior down.
Ha ha, Heather, you can't even argue back. You're really hopeless. Well, enjoy being poor.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you'll ever be able to pull off brand name clothes like us. What the heck? While I was calming down the fiery subordinate, the two of them left briskly. Heather, aren't you upset? Losing to that fake brand couple? Could it be you still had feelings for him? To my still furious junior, I shook my head, implying it's not what she thought. Want to go on a dinner cruise? Huh? The junior was caught off guard for a moment. And are their clothes really knockoffs? Upon confirming my nod, I explained my plan to her. Ha ha ha, let's give them the show. A few hours later, dressed up, my junior and I headed for the dinner cruise. There was a long line for the popular dinner cruise, where people could enjoy city lights from a luxury liner and fancy dinner. Noticing the couple we saw in the daytime in that line, my junior and I walked past them.
Huh? Heather?
Tim waved his hand in dismissal as he noticed us.
What's up, broken lowly woman? You missed me so much you followed me here, even changing your clothes. No can do. Honestly, I can't deal with someone like you.
Next to him, Tim's girlfriend was also laughing. You regret it that much? Too bad you can't get a ticket now. Even I had a hard time getting this. She waved the tickets and grinned. Too bad for you. My junior, in a cheerful mood next to me, pulled out the tickets from her purse. Those are just regular tickets, right? You struggled to get those? Heather can easily get express tickets, even on the same day. What?
And not just express, but the most expensive private room, premium tickets. Those are not less than several $1,000s, right?
Seeing their shocked faces, my junior grinned. Well, good luck with the line. Leading my grinning junior, I bypassed the long line and headed towards the express gate.
Why? Why?
What the heck, Tim? What's her deal? She isn't just a lowly woman, right? Their voices reached us from afar. Serve them right. Isn't that right, Heather? My junior seemed happy that our revenge went well. Half an hour later, as a departure time approached, Tim and his girlfriend approached us on the exclusive terrace where we were enjoying our welcome drinks. Shouldn't this area be off limits with your tickets?
Shut up and explain.
Tim approached aggressively. As my junior frowned, she whispered to me that she was going to call someone and quickly turned around. Unperturbed, Tim continued to pressure me.
Why does a lowlife like you have express tickets? And you even made a fool out of us in public. Thanks to you, we were laughed at while we were in line. We've been embarrassed and can't keep quiet anymore.
That's right. You must have gone into debt or something to force your way through. Now get laughed at by the express passengers. Apologize now for a poor person overstretching. As the couple kept making a fuss, the other passengers on the terrace started to gather around. Then Tim, who was staring at my chest, let out a creepy chuckle.
Even if you somehow managed to get the ticket, this is not acceptable, Heather.
Huh? As I tilted my head, Tim put his hands in his pockets, puffed his chest out, and looked confident.
Well, even if you change your clothes, I bet it's just some cheap junk. Did you dump all your money into the ticket, strutting around with a necklace from the dollar store, and you think you're some big shot? Gonna live off of just water in the park tomorrow, huh? Haha, no, that's funny.
A dollar store? I stared at Tim intently as I repeated his words.
Are you really into these kids' toys? But come on, it's pathetic for an adult to be wearing dollar store stuff.
Tim pointed to my necklace and laughed loudly for everyone to hear. As the murmurs among the passengers grew louder, Tim's girlfriend too raised her voice. Timmy, you're lucky you dumped this poor woman. Now you're in love with me. Both of them laughed, calling me a poor woman again. I didn't think you were this kind of person when we were dating. I regret being so blind. As I retorted, Tim laughed as if it was the funniest thing he'd heard.
That's rich coming from you. She's a real lady compared to you. I'm embarrassed that I even dated someone like you. Give me back the time I wasted on you, you poor thing.
Tim's voice echoed throughout the patio. As the crowd around us backed away, we heard some people hurrying toward us. Security, over here. Catch them, those two. A junior colleague led the security officers who swiftly surrounded Tim and his girlfriend.
What the hell, man?
Get out of our way, you're ruining everything. Although they protested loudly, their tickets didn't allow them access to this area in the first place. Moreover, their ruckus attracted a crowd and security managed to hold them.
We're customers, you can't just grab us like this.
You should be grabbing that woman. She's the one who doesn't belong here, she's poor. But the security officers maintained a stern look, glaring at the rowdy pair. Despite this, Tim did not stop hurling insults at me. Enough already! My junior colleague raised her voice. I don't know what you're misunderstanding, but Heather isn't poor.
Huh, are you just bluffing? Hilarious.
That's right, you liar. It's not a lie. There are people here who knows her, right? At the urging of my colleague, a few hands rose among the passengers. Raise your hands those who can confirm that Heather is the future president and that this cruise is managed by a subsidiary of the large company run by her father. Hands were raised.
Huh?
Tim and his girlfriend finally stopped their resistance and let out a dumbfounded voice. Their mouths were wide open.
Future president?
Unable to grasp the situation, Tim looked back and forth between me and the other passengers. What does that mean?
You said you were just a regular employee.
At the time, I was. I opened my mouth slowly. I was fed up with all the business studies forced on me, so I quarreled with my father and left home. I chose to work at a company unrelated to my father because I wanted to be away from him. But then, 2 years ago, my father fell ill and I returned home. When I was down being dumped by Tim, I accepted my father's apology, who had softened due to his illness, and returned to the path of management.
It can't be.
In a state of shock, Tim was further devastated by my junior associate. Tim, your outfit tonight, top to bottom, was all my doing. You wanted it to look low-key expensive, so it may look plain, but you needed hundreds of Benjamins.
What?
Oh, and the necklace is separate. Do you think it was a dollar store toy? What a pity. Heather, how much was that? About $100,000, I guess.
What?
No way. Chuckles leaked out from the onlookers as Tim and his girlfriend seemed like they had their souls sucked out. I apologize, everyone. My father is always under your care. Today, he invited everyone as a thank you for your hard work, and I didn't mean to intrude. Yes, the reason I was able to get tickets was that today was just that day. The people present were the employees and their families. Tim, realizing my toy-like necklace was actually an ultra-luxury item worth over $100,000, was wide-eyed. His face turned pale as he finally grasped the situation.
Heather?
He had lost all his momentum from before under the cold gazes from the surroundings. Realizing now is too late, I was actually happy with a dollar store necklace. I've never been to a dollar store because I've always been studying and I'm not interested in clothes or accessories. My junior associate gave a wry smile beside me. Right, Tim, you're not into that sort of thing, but don't worry, I'm here for that. I'm quite the sharp-eyed selector. Plus, your sense in the food market is top-notch. The burger you had for lunch will be all over the country in a month. Don't underestimate fast food, okay? Tim, slumped with his shoulders down, was turning to ashes along with his silent girlfriend. Security, please escort them out. The junior associate urged their departure with a teasing wave.
Wait, Heather, I'm so sorry, I was wrong. I'll apologize for everything. I'll break up with her, so...
What? Flip-flopping now? Who do you think got you on this cruise in the first place?
Shut up, you flashy woman. You don't see your gaudy brand clothes at all.
What did you say? You're not cool at all, even in your shiny clothes. Apologize to the clothes, say sorry for not being suitable for brand items. In the end, as security was about to escort the two arguing among themselves, I smiled and said, You two seem to think each other's clothes are brand name, but those are knockoffs, aren't they?
Huh?
What? The two looked at each other startled. You can fool each other, but you know you're wearing fake brands, right? But I'm thinking, if you can fool each other, doesn't that mean neither of you have an eye for quality? Well, I can't really talk since I can't tell the difference with dollar store items. The passengers, noticing my sarcasm, giggled again. You. Don't mess with me, you. Shaking off the security, they both hurled insults at each other. Well, they won't be able to sit at their dinner table anymore. They probably overreached to get their tickets. The junior associate shrugged. The dinner course is so good I wanted to show off. I wish they could have at least eaten it. You're so serious about it, it's funny. The junior associate laughed out loud. But all the same, while it makes sense for you, should I really have let you buy such an expensive outfit for me? Absolutely. Between us, the CEO is about to change soon. My dad is fine now, but he's saying he can't handle the load anymore because of his age. This outfit and necklace you chose, I plan on using them for the inauguration ceremony. Will you attend in that outfit as well? Well, if that's the case, I'm thrilled. I'll follow your lead from now on. Let's stay friends even when we're old as grandmas, okay? Yeah. With such conversations, we enjoyed a dinner cruise. A few hours later, as we disembarked from the ship, Tim was waiting for us.
Hey Heather, let's give it another shot, you and me. I promise I'll turn over a new leaf. 'Cause I don't think I'll ever meet someone as pure-hearted as you, who can be moved by something from a dollar store.
Tim's belly grumbled loudly as he begged pitifully. It seems they had been isolated in an empty room during the cruise as their ruckus was disturbing the other guests. You didn't eat dinner, did you?
Nah, skipping a meal ain't a big deal. More importantly, I beg you, Heather.
In response to Tim pleading, I took something out of my bag. Here, if you'd like, you can have this.
Aw, thanks, Heather. Wait, what's this?
A wristwatch from a dollar store.
What? Heather, are you trying to get back at me?
Don't call me Heather. I don't want to see you at all from now on. If this was worth $100,000, you'd be happy, wouldn't you? But if it's a dollar store item, you don't want it. In the end, all you see is money.
Wait a minute.
Excuse me, security.
Ugh.
Tim was restrained by the security guards once again and dragged away. Later, I heard that Tim had caused another uproar, arguing with his girlfriend, and ended up getting reported. Apparently, he's often seen at the park bloating his stomach with water. I'm sure he's broken up with his girlfriend. On the other hand, I, who successfully became CEO, am now working hard every day with a reliable junior at my side. The newly launched burger chain is also doing better than expected, and there's even talk of opening more new stores. I haven't found a new love interest yet, but I hope to meet a good person next time.
My name is Emma. Ever since I dropped out of high school, I've poured everything into my work. I decided to leave high school because there was something I just had to do. Although my parents were worried, they supported my decision. I believe that I am where I am today because of their support. Recently, my parents, to whom I am deeply grateful, told me that they are considering letting go of our family home. This home is a single-family house that was handed down from my grandparents. It has been renovated over the years, but as it has been used for many years, it has started to show signs of wear and tear. With my parents getting older, they are considering moving to a barrier-free apartment and demolishing the family home. Indeed, I realized that our old home was indeed old, and so I proposed to my parents that we live together. I may get married eventually, so we might not be able to live together for long. However, I wanted to give back to my parents who had supported me without denying the decisions I made when I was young. So my parents and I moved into a new apartment. We now have more rooms than we did in our old house, and since we live on a high floor, my parents are delighted, saying, "The view is great, and we even have a hobby room." Then one day, while I was living peacefully with my parents, I got a call from my younger sister, Jane. Jane and I have not been on good terms for a long time. That's because she feels ashamed of me. When I decided to drop out of high school, Jane was furious. "Why are you quitting high school, Emma? I don't want any of my friends to find out that my sister dropped out of high school because it's embarrassing. From now on, pretend we don't know each other." Although Jane and I went to different high schools, it seems that me dropping out of high school was something to be ashamed of for Jane. Jane is a very hard worker and attended a higher ranked high school than I did, so she has always looked down on me. Jane, whose favorite phrase is, "Emma is stupid," made fun of me at the time, saying, "There's no way you're going to succeed in what you want to do. You can't even understand that, Emma, because you're stupid." I was tired of hearing Jane tell me almost every day that you're causing trouble for our parents by dropping out of high school, so you should leave. So as soon as I started earning money from part-time jobs after dropping out of high school, I left home. After 10 years have passed since then, and Jane had also left home. There was no communication between Jane and me, and since Jane started living alone in college, it seems she has not been in touch with our parents much either. When our parents decided to demolish our family home, they apparently consulted not only me, but also Jane. However, Jane just said, "I don't care about that old house. Do whatever you want." My parents were racking their brains, wondering, why did Jane turn out like that? So when they got a call from Jane, they were surprised. According to Mother, who answered the phone, it seems that Jane got married without telling our parents anything. "So you've decided to live in a condo, right? We'll come visit with your husband sometime. Show us around." With these words, it was revealed that Jane was married. My parents, who had no clue, seemed quite surprised, but Jane herself casually shrugged it off, saying, "Didn't I mention it?" It was also revealed that Jane wasn't planning on having a wedding ceremony, which felt quite off. Jane was a girly girl who, since her childhood, had always dreamt of being a princess. She had even talked in detail about the kind of dress she wanted to wear at her wedding. It was quite strange that someone like her would get married without having a wedding ceremony. I wondered if her husband didn't have much money, but according to Jane, her husband worked at the same company as her. The company where Jane works is a well-known corporation, recognized by everyone nationwide. If he was working at such a company, he should have enough money, which made it even more mysterious. Finally, the day came when Jane visited her parents' house. Wow, such a large and clean room. The view was amazing. Excuse our intrusion. Jane's husband, left standing, greeted as Jane, without any hesitation, began to explore each room, even though it was her childhood home. Jane's husband is named Scott. He is a fresh-faced man with an expensive-looking watch on his wrist. What was strange was that, despite his very proper appearance, he didn't meet our eyes at all. After introducing himself to the parents, Scott was exploring the rooms without any restraint, just like Jane. Your parents are amazing. The station is close, and there's a shopping mall just around the corner. You moved to a great place. Yeah, all thanks to Emma. When my mother smiled at me, I humbly replied, "It wasn't a big deal." To which Jane made a deliberately mean face, saying, "Really? You have an older sister? I didn't notice. I never thought that such a beautiful and expensive-looking room would have an older sister living here." Huh? Jane, Emma is not freeloading. My father was about to explain, but Jane ignored him. Pointing at me, she beckoned Scott over. Hey, Scott. Do you believe this ugly woman is my sister? This is Jane's sister you've been talking about? I didn't realize because you two look nothing alike. Suddenly mocked by Jane and Scott, I stood dumbfounded. My mother scolded, "Jane, what are you saying?" But Jane didn't seem to care. My sister couldn't even graduate high school. She's not the brightest. There's a big difference between us, you know. We who have graduated from a state university. I was shocked when I heard that Jane's sister couldn't even properly graduate high school, but it seems like it's true. If she had someone like this in her family, it's no wonder Jane would be embarrassed. Laughing together, Jane and Scott opened the door to my room as they continued their conversation. And then, "Ugh!" she exclaimed in disgust. "What's the point of hoarding so much comic books? It's creepy. Are you still into that nerdy stuff?" My room's walls are covered with comic books, because I'm a comic book artist. The reason I dropped out of high school was because I wanted to dedicate myself entirely to comic books. Jane is the type that feels disgust towards such subcultures, what we'd call extroverted. Just like how Jane can't understand why I, being introverted and passionate about comics, I can't understand why Jane applies her mascara so heavily. Well, I'm a comic book artist. These are all my references. You're probably not even a successful comic book artist, are you? You're still mooching off mom and dad. It's disgraceful. Just get out already. Confused by what she was saying, I instinctively replied, "What?" "So just get out! Scott and I are going to be living in this house from now on." "What?" "Jane, I've heard nothing of this." Mother and father both exclaimed in surprise. Ignoring their shock, Jane laughed snidely. "Scott and I will take care of mom and dad. You're no longer needed, so get out. Aren't you embarrassed to still be mooching off them? Not only are you ugly, but you're also stupid." At Jane's words, Scott just chuckles. Holding back an angry mother, I said, "All right." Jane and Scott's attitude had not only upset my parents, I was furious too. I wouldn't let them get away with this. I decided to give in to Jane's demand. "All right, I'll move out in a few days, and you and Scott can live here. But remember, I'm not giving you any money." Sure. Bye, sis. Please, move out as soon as you can." After having their say, Jane and Scott headed home. "The next time we come, it'll be to move in," they triumphantly told my parents before leaving. My parents told me, "There's no need for you to move out." But I, who had sworn revenge on Jane and Scott, responded, "No, I'm moving out. I have a place to go," and moved out promptly. Jane and Scott soon moved into our family home. On the day of the move, "Have you moved out yet?" Jane asked over the phone. I replied in exasperation. I'm on my way out now, so don't worry. Jane always behaves politely to our parents, never being mean to them. However, she often seemed to belittle me. To our parents, both Jane and I were their beloved daughters. They told Jane and Scott that it hurts to hear them badmouth me, but it seems the two didn't take it to heart. Then, a month later, just as I predicted, I got a call from Jane. As I picked up the phone, I thought, here it comes. And a nearly crying Jane blurted out, Emma! The property management company of the apartment called me, saying they haven't received the rent. What's going on? They even said if I continue to be in arrears, they'll kick me out. Why would I pay the rent? I don't live there anymore, do I? I've heard from Mother and Father. You were paying the rent because you wanted to show your gratitude to them, right? Why did you stop? Like I said, I don't live there, so I don't have an obligation to pay the rent. Just bring the money right now. The utility bills are also ridiculously high. Being disgusted with Jane, who kept talking and hung up, I called my boyfriend. Liam, Jane just asked me to come over. I'm going to our parents' house. Okay, I'll come with you. I'm worried about you, Emma, and I haven't seen your parents in a while. The reason why I immediately had a place to go after leaving my parents' home is because my boyfriend, Liam, offered me a room. As we were considering marriage, this past month was a good practice period for us. I went to my parents' house with Liam. As I opened the door of the house, Jane, red with anger, showed up. Did you bring the money? Pay the money properly for the sake of showing gratitude to our parents. Do you think I'm a struggling cartoonist, Jane? How do you think I can afford the rent for such a luxury apartment? Well, I don't know, but you were able to pay until now, right? Please pay the rent and utility bills. I won't. Jane and Scott, you both work for respectable companies, right? Why can't you pay your own rent? At my question, Jane was at a loss for words. I noticed that Jane might not have the money. Jane was dressed in branded clothing from head to toe, and I noticed a luxury-looking watch on Scott's arm, who was also decked out in branded items. Isn't it that Jane and Scott can't pay the rent? Not that they won't? You said you wanted to take care of Mother and Father, but I heard you've left all the housework to Mother. Aren't you and Scott just living off Mother and Father? Jane, who was struck at the heart, bit her lip. Scott, who was not looking at me, but only at Liam, raised his trembling voice. Why is Liam here? Huh? Liam? Scott seemed startled, while Jane appeared nonplussed. Liam, who had been watching the sisters quarrel with a troubled look, then introduced himself with a smile. Hello there. I see you already knew. I'm dating Emma with the intention of marrying her. What? Emma and Liam are dating? What the hell? Who is this Liam guy? Scott, seemingly agitated, addressed Jane, who seemed not to be following the conversation. Don't you know? He's a voice actor from an anime that caused a societal buzz. You've seen him on TV and all. What? Why is my sister dating such a guy? It's because Emma is the one who drew the original story for that socially influential anime. When Liam gently explained about me, Jane's face was a picture of shock. Actually, I had a series in a boys' magazine, and that comic had become so popular, it was considered a societal phenomenon. Even Jane, who was not well versed in comics, recognized the title and turned pale, seeming to regret all the times she had underestimated me now that she knew I was rich. I sighed at Jane's sudden change in attitude and told Jane and Scott, if you can't pay, then leave right now. I'll be demanding the 1 month's rent from you later. Don't say that, sis. Scott and I, we got hooked on gambling and ran out of money. It turned out that Jane and Scott had become deeply absorbed in slot machines and had lost a considerable amount of money. The reason they decided to live with their parents back home was also due to a lack of funds. It seemed they even borrowed money from shady sources, and most of their decent salary was going towards repaying that debt, which was quite shocking. I have no intention of helping Jane, who has always been mocking me. Our parents are moving again, so you and Scott should leave right away. Why are Mom and Dad moving? So you won't come crying to them. I can easily imagine debt-ridden Jane causing trouble for our parents. If you don't leave promptly, I will be charging you for the second month's rent as well. When I sternly made that clear, Jane and Scott reluctantly said, "Okay," and the gathering dispersed. My parents, who had been out, heard about this later and called Liam to apologize, but Liam seemed unfazed. "Perhaps it would be best to avoid seeing Jane for a while," he said, and helped me find a new place for my parents to move to. I promptly bought a new apartment, and my parents prepared to move, once again. "I'm sorry for the trouble," my parents said, and I replied, "It's only natural to repay the favor to you both, who supported me when I made the drastic decision to drop out of high school. I am what I am today because of you." My parents were brought to tears at this. Jane and Scott seemed to be struggling with debt repayments even after that, but I had no obligation to show mercy, so I demanded full payment for the 1 month's rent and utilities I had fronted. But Jane and Scott didn't pay back the money and stopped answering their phones, so I called their workplace directly and finally received the payment. However, this caused everyone at their company to find out about the debt-ridden couple, Jane and Scott. Apparently, they can't quit their jobs because they need the money, and they continued to work, feeling quite uncomfortable. Afterwards, I married Liam. Our parents gave us their blessings, and we've been leading a happy life. Although I've cut ties with Jane and Scott as blood-related siblings, I wish for them to live strong.